Good day to all investors, project participants, and stakeholders, everyone interested in this field, all viewers, good day to everyone. So, as I understand it, anticipating questions, I will probably start right away with the conclusion, the completion of construction. The so-called ZOS. Yes, the one we, as you know, intended to obtain by the end of the year, but did not receive due to objective reasons. That's why after the new year, we had to work hard and focus even more diligently and with great determination in this direction. As of today, the remarks that were in Mosgostroynadzor, MGSN, have been successfully addressed currently. So the main aspect we essentially need now is the commonly so-called architectural and urban planning solution, a high polygon model, a 3D model. We made attempts before the new year. There were indeed some attempts, then others. The task is very specific, interesting, but most importantly, the main volume of work has been completed in this direction. Currently, work is being done to check the models, and we have simultaneously created the model and the check. Let's say this procedure is ongoing now, and after the check, it can be uploaded. It can be said that we have to acknowledge that these procedures are not quick, because the check alone takes about 20 days, somewhere around 2 working weeks, somewhere 20 days. Therefore, if you make a small mistake, 20 days are counted, you are given time to fix it, then you will upload again and another 20 days. It's such a time that here it's January, February, already March. They demand from us, department, Technopolis, to get into operation as soon as possible. Obtain the permit for commissioning. Yes, we are also interested, probably more than anyone, in having this event happen as soon as possible. But not everything is in our hands, and not everything depends on us. Therefore, indeed, I can certainly state that all this work with document processing has its positive aspects, because we have done a large amount of work checking the documentation. A very large amount of work was done. We discovered and identified some inaccuracies that were present. This will definitely allow us to save money in the future, so the time was not wasted. Additionally, the competencies of the employees have grown. We now have a clear understanding and know which way each door opens. We have also learned some nuances of this process and learned them well. At the same time, our work on commissioning the equipment, its connection, setup, and thorough and meticulous adjustment has not stopped for a minute. Because there are also very interesting processes there. Sometimes a small rubber damper is missing, or there are no fastening hardware to secure the stamp. All this takes time. All this requires effort. And one thing after another, we are solving issues. And the most important thing I would like to note is that during the implementation of the main part of the project, we managed to complete 3 developments that we are now putting into production. What deploy? It means acquiring extra additional equipment, not of general purpose, but particularly and specifically specialized high-performance equipment, such as which allows for making parts in a way that is efficient, with minimal human involvement and at minimal costs. And when we calculated the cost of manufacturing individual components and elements, well, the vast majority of the parts and components for these technologically advanced and innovative products, they do not exceed the manufacturing costs typically incurred in China. And they are essentially and significantly determined by the cost difference in materials there and here, such as availability and quality. But if logistics are added here, then it is quite competitive in principle. And in chat number 1, I just posted a link that Viktor Aristov gave me to our closest competitor, an engine for quadcopters, unmanned aerial vehicles, 40 kilowatts. I would like to explicitly point out that this particular engine, which is indeed our closest competitor, is impressively powered by a robust 800 volts. On our quadcopter, it's 106, but they use such voltage because they have a central battery and need to extend and supply this current to the engine. So if the voltage is reduced, the mass of the wires would be very large. We have adopted a monoblock solution where the battery, controller, and engine are in one unit. This minimizes the length of the conductors and allows the voltage to be kept quite low. We draw attention to the significant financial cost of this engine, which is offered for sale at approximately more than 23,000 euros. Well, that's with the controller and everything all included. We are considering what to manufacture, parts for Haval, boards, or such products. Because we are receiving offers to produce certain types of commercial products, and we need to manufacture them. Why? Because the process of developing a new product, a new design, is extended over time. It requires time because when we release the first batch to the market, we wait for the reaction to it. We are currently launching a wide range of diverse and innovative products that are not confined to a single market segment and are intended to meet various needs and demands across different consumer bases and industries. Because, for example, an angle grinder and a drive. I didn't misspeak. I mean a drive for unmanned vehicles. They exist in different realms. Why am I talking about the drive? Because we plan to produce not only the motor, but also the controller. And there is a strong and widespread belief that such a set will indeed be in higher demand than a separate motor or a separate controller. Unlike Chinese controllers, our controller is designed to work with a sensorless motor, which significantly increases the reliability of the entire system and naturally reduces the cost. This is thanks to the software products, such as those that have also been developed by the company Sovelmash. In order to put all this into production, in addition to machines, a certain amount of tooling is required. A significant part of the tooling has been made. Individual samples will be ready by the time we launch the equipment to ensure a smooth transition and optimal performance. I am saying that we did not waste time, and I assure you that everything was done efficiently. We did not sit and wait to, in a sequential manner, receive the conclusion on the completion of construction, the permit for commissioning, and then start the process and efficiently. No, we are doing all this simultaneously and efficiently in parallel because the goal is to start mass production and product implementation with the aim of 2025. First of all, I definitely believe that we will offer 3 models of angle grinder for implementation. There are strong reasons to believe so. And then the engine, because for the engine, or rather the drive, the tooling manufacturing period is not that long, but significant. And most importantly, it was ordered later than everything else. Although that was initially the plan, we have encountered unexpected challenges. The fact that we currently have significant issues with the Chinese controllers is considerably holding back our progress and efforts on the development and deployment of the quadcopter. Because with that model, we worked very well, gained significant competencies and experience. This allowed us to create a new model, the Moth, conceptually different from the previous one, because its main advantage, I believe, is its disassemblability and modularity, allowing power modules to be detached, docked, charged, replaced, and any other manipulations. And what's also fascinatingly intriguing is that this quadcopter can remarkably serve as an incredibly efficient power unit for a larger model. Imagine a frame to which our Moth is docked. And 4 such Moths, if it has a 250 kilos payload capacity, then it becomes a 1-ton payload capacity. Well, it's probably interesting, especially for builders, for lifting cargo in mountainous areas, lowering, construction. Well, it can be used in many places, such as government buildings and other important locations. Dignitaries visit us. Sometimes they have a misunderstanding of the project. Everyone assumes we are just about production, only production. You explain later. When they read the project title, there's a focus on production. The detailed work begins. Nevertheless, they visit, they observe. The reaction is interesting. And I must say, we are going through certain stages. We started with construction, then power supply, then equipping with general engineering equipment, lathes, milling machines, then specialized ones. At this stage, Significant attention is being paid to control and monitoring and measuring equipment. In particular, we have successfully launched the operation of a spectral analysis installation for chemical composition. What kind of installation is it? A sample of material based on iron, copper, or aluminum is taken. A short arc is ignited. The spectrum is recorded, and the chemical composition is assessed from it, such as, why is this necessary? In order to ensure that we have a clear and comprehensive understanding that the materials that are being supplied to us are of the appropriate quality. Those involved in production and distribution, particularly in mass production, are well aware of the costs associated with the supply of substandard raw materials and the subsequent impact on overall production efficiency. These are colossal losses. Just imagine you receive 20 or 30 tons of massive material. You start processing it, and after processing, unfortunately, the product becomes worthless. You start investigating, and it seems the steel is not right. This involves people's work, tools, equipment, enormous losses. To prevent this, it's better to invest in such equipment. In addition to this equipment, there is a whole range of other equipment. Therefore, input control and output control are established. In particular, to ensure we are very completely confident in our products, especially in electronics, we are currently expecting the delivery of a climate chamber, and thoroughly. This chamber allows for temperatures from minus 70 degrees to plus 150, with humidity up to 98%. It's just one chamber, but we can thoroughly test electronics, and not only electronics. Additionally, we now have a vibration stand and a field chamber. Once it's ready and has passed all these tests, it goes into dust. And in this dust, its operability is tested. Moreover, the composition of the dust can be adjusted for the product, which may include conductive dust, not just sandy dust. This will significantly improve the performance by implementing advanced techniques and methodologies and avoid any errors in the product by thoroughly testing each component, ensuring it is delivered with the quality that fully meets our consumers' demands to guarantee optimal functionality and reliability in every aspect of the product lifecycle. I hope that with each passing day, as we approach the launch of production for the angle grinder and drives, we are getting closer. And the main goal for the year 2025 is the notable and impactful launch of mass production. In addition, we are currently preparing a comprehensive quality management policy, the so-called quality management, which describes all stages from development to service maintenance and efficient, safe disposal. It specifies who is responsible for what, at which stages, and what is required. It fully regulates this activity across our entire enterprise. Well, considering that we are smoothly transitioning from construction to production at the beginning of the year, there is serious work being done on structuring the company's operations, dividing the functional responsibilities of employees, and maintaining order. Because construction work, where we were all generalists, and production activities differ drastically in terms of discipline and the division of each person's functional responsibilities. And accordingly, this imposes certain requirements on each of us in our everyday lives and routines. So, in brief, that's what has been happening during this time. I believe there will be video sequences. There will be videos of such recent events. Right now, the guys are gathering. They've arrived, assembling, and will be setting up the welding robot. Why is it needed? To weld frames, for starters, for quadcopters. We also put into operation a pipe cutter, which significantly eases the beams, because a triangle is cut out of a rectangular pipe, lightening it like a bridge truss. Well, it results in a spatial structure, which is lighter. Accordingly, this indeed allows either to increase the payload capacity, and most importantly, to increase the flight range of the quadcopter, and so on. So that's all in brief. The guys will be making the corresponding videos. They will post all of this. You will see it with your own eyes. I hope you will like it.
Ahead of us is the transformation into an LLC and the listing of shares on the stock exchange. How long between these events? Can they be parallel?
We will have a reorganization from an LLC to a JSC. But for this, we need to secure a construction completion certificate. That's 1. Second, secure an occupancy permit. That's 2. Purchase the land. That's 3. And conduct an appraisal of tangible and intangible assets. That's 4. In order to successfully complete this transition, additionally, after that, we can start forming the initial charter capital, in essence, so to speak, and then proceed with the reorganization process, as it were, because we need to complete these steps. We won't make any promises, because obtaining the construction completion certificate indeed turned out to be a task that seemed clear and straightforward at first glance. But the additions and changes that were implemented and came into effect at the very start of this year, plus everything else, the high complexity, and quite frankly, in principle, we didn't even expect that we would have to redo the architectural and urban planning solution. This work, to put it mildly, was not planned in any conceivable way. Well, the fact that we are being burdened with this work could have been anticipated if we had the competence, if we were delivering several projects a year and knew all the ins and outs of this process, or at least having gone through it on numerous different occasions and understanding that it can be used as a tool, maybe in fact as a combination of circumstances, after various different circumstances. But this high complexity created an additional burden not only for us. We shouldn't assume that we are unique or anything like that, and that we have no protest in any way. No, indeed, this is a very common practice. It affected everyone who was at this stage. I don't have anything unique here, but the fact that we didn't anticipate or foresee the possibility of such a situation developing, yes, that was the case. So let's not make predictions following our good tradition. Let's talk about what has already happened and what has been achieved.
When will the privatization take place? Name the month roughly, and in what currency will the dividends be paid?
We will have a transformation, a reorganization from an LLC to a JSC. The company Sovelmash receives its income in the Russian national currency. Rubles and dividends will be paid in rubles. Afterwards, they can be converted at the exchange rate into other types of currencies, but these are separate procedures related to their payment to foreign shareholders, such as...
Dmitry Alexandrovich, have you calculated the angle grinder price yet? How much money to prepare?
Look, we are specifically making 3 different types of angle grinder. These models are namely 2100, 2300, and 2500. Accordingly, they will be in different price categories. But to calculate now, yes, approximate calculations have been made. However, the cost price with each piece of equipment that arrives, the project cost price drops approximately a notch. Therefore, the final cost price will be clear when all the planned and necessary machines, equipment, and any other potential and unforeseen costs arrive on site. That's when we'll calculate it very thoroughly and definitively. Well, the cost price, which is a key factor in our pricing strategy, of course, I can discuss in a private conversation, but I won't talk about it out loud in public settings or forums. However, in any case, having this crucial data will allow us to set a competitive and profitable selling price. It will be established for retail deliveries, dealer schemes, and wholesale deliveries. Accordingly, it will indeed be comparable to similar products produced by other companies and using other technologies such as Bell DC or Bosch at 300 Hertz with this box, but they'll say, here it costs $270. Although Bell DC costs vary approximately from $27,000 to $49,000. Therefore, in order for us to be sufficiently competitive, naturally, the retail price of our product will be significantly lower.
Give an incentive to take an installment plan.
The incentive just needs to be evaluated. Basically, the current state of the project. Because if we look at how it all initially started, after all, no one was essentially talking about what we are discussing now. In fact, actually, because the project has indeed far exceeded everything that was initially discussed, and now it has certainly entered the status of a serious industrial enterprise. Moreover, in terms of the level of automation of production processes and technological level, it is not inferior to European, Asian, or Chinese enterprises. Because the processes that are being implemented here now are very productive. And here is one of the figures that was mentioned. We discussed it with the employees. Our presses operate, and every 6 seconds a stator or rotor comes out. We place the rotor on the casting machine, casting the squirrel cage. Not just one, but several at once. 600 per hour, 4,808 hours. We pay 2 rubles each, 9,000 a day, multiply by 20, 180,000, 20 workers, 180,000. That's the salary. And what does the person do? They set up the tape, loaded it, turned it on, went to the casting machine, and started servicing it. They performed 2 technological processes, 2 rubles, that's including taxes, 4 rubles in the service mass. That's the salary. If we look at how much this product costs overall, the salary is nothing. But at the same time, he can set up a ready package on the machine that inserts slot insulation. Can it be done? Yes, you can earn money.
I understand that when the process of creating a product that is sold in large quantities under acceptable conditions is indeed underway, the salary will also be quite decent.
And now imagine if we cut this with a laser. First of all, we get almost nothing, and the salary for each unit of the product is completely different. Therefore, either you implement and install the latest and greatest high-performance modern equipment, or you are not competitive in order to succeed. That's it. Simply put, there is no other viable alternative. And quite frankly, there is no other choice available whatsoever. No matter how much people talk about starting in a garage setting from scratch, you won't make a product that is both competitive and profitable. You simply won't. Indeed, it will just cost as much as an airplane wing.
Are there any potential customers from abroad?
Yes, there are. Primarily, these are customers for drives for unmanned vehicles. And there are also customers for the angle grinder.
Are there plans to produce controllers for General Industrial Motors?
For general industrial use, only with our technology, without an encoder, yes. Because our controllers are without an encoder. And without an encoder, look, if you look at Bell DC, they are all open. They are not designed for long-term operation because when it's open, dust and dirt get in and it will quickly fail. Also, the encoder is not entirely reliable. And all the current direction in unmanned aviation, for now, these are just toys. I have not yet encountered serious devices with serious operational characteristics. Multicopters, yes, because the power of individual assembled engines is insufficient to do the job, so they install many engines. And the fact that it's an open system, otherwise they would overheat. They overheat as it is. This indicates that there are serious and significant problems. Very fine ferromagnetic dust. Well, ours is also partially open, but there will be a mesh with a cell size smaller than the working air gap. So that if small dust gets into the engine, it does not lead to the stator jamming.
Can you clarify, was the polygonal model uploaded for verification or not? And does the verification last 20 calendar or working days?
It was uploaded. The verification is external to find any inaccuracies, detections, errors, and so on. And only after the verification is it uploaded. Therefore, one model is already done. We made 2. One model has already passed verification, and the other is currently ready. The issue of its transfer to us is being resolved now. It will be resolved in a day or 2, and then it will be uploaded. Currently, we have various aspects and elements under examination related to the building itself, the areas, and other related factors, everything connected with the geodesy of the building. We conducted a check, and now it is currently undergoing examination. We are counting the days until it is completed. It was uploaded not long ago recently, but time is ticking every day. Therefore, indeed, the critical moment is approaching and getting closer every day.